Life is the living you do, and death, well, that's the living you don't do. Listen to your own restless heartbeat. Is it a rhythm of life or a rhythm of death?
Hello again, everyone. This is Heartbeat, the podcast, featuring insights from Landon Saunders that focus on how to live a life that loves to happen. For this episode, we have dipped into the radio programs Landon created in the 70s and 80s and pulled 4 episodes that focus on issues of life. What is it? What constitutes satisfaction and success? A reminder that since these programs were originally recorded 40 to 50 years ago, you'll hear a dated reference or two along the way, but I think you'll agree, these programs are evergreen. Now, here again is Landon Saunders.
Have you ever thought how important words are? We communicate by words, share ideas by words, we even share feelings through words. We spend much of our life either speaking or listening to words. But even so, words can be tricky. Think, for example, of the word cleave. It can be used in the sense of a meat cleaver, that is, a knife for splitting meat. But on the other hand, a bride and groom promise to cleave to each other, that is, to stay together. And so one word, cleave, has 2 opposite meanings. It means to stay together, it means to split apart. Or take the word life. It's a common word. Everybody knows what life means. Or do we? To the botanist, life means the protoplasm in a cell. A 90-year-old thinks of life as a great store of memories. To the convict, life could mean a long, long jail term. What does the word life mean to you? You may define it by words like zest, excitement, vigor. Or, at the other extreme, life to you may bring up such words as boredom, anguish, loneliness, or pain. Life can be all of those things, and more. If we believed all the TV commercials, we would see life as an easygoing, satisfying, thrill-a-minute experience. But some people don't look at life that way. In my mail almost every day, I have letters from people who are upset by what life has done to them. They're angered by some of its surprises. They're worried and depressed over what they feel life is taking them. Others just say they feel nothing. Life for them is just there. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just there. Now, what makes the difference? Some people do have better jobs and more of the pleasures of life than others. Are they the ones who get the most out of life, though? You might think so. But the fact is, the people who have the great jobs and all the fine things of the world are often the people who tell me life is a bummer. And so it's not just the obvious features of life that determine whether it's good or bad. Look with me at the man we'll call Super Dad. Now, this is a father devoted to his son. He bought him his first football before he was a year old. He spent time with him, went to the back-to-school night, took him to sports events, coached Little League, stood on the sidelines while son played soccer, basketball, and football. He cheered him on as he ran, jumped, threw, kicked, and sprinted his way through school. They took up golf together. They had a great time. Super Dad knew, though, that life was not all sports, and so he taught son the value of $1. With some ceremony, the 2 of them marched into the bank and solemnly opened a savings account for son. After the financial comments on TV, Super Dad would reinterpret everything at son's level. One Christmas morning, there was a share of stock under the tree, and from then on, Super Dad helped the boy to know the complexities of Wall Street. But of course, life is not all finances either, and so Super Dad saw to it that son saw the country. They kept a scrapbook of all the places they'd been and the people they met. They visited museums, took in concerts, they fished, they hiked, they camped out. Son learned how to change the oil and tune up the engine. They bought a boat and learned to water ski. In the winter, they went to Aspen for a week of snow skiing. I mean, this was really Super Dad. But one day, when he was about 19 years old, son walked in. "Got a minute, Dad?" "Sure." "Dad, what's it all for?" "What do you mean, son?" "I'm talking about life. What's it all about? You taught me money, manners, culture, cars, football. But what's it all for? Where's it going? Is there any goal in life other than having fun and being successful? What's it all about, Dad?" Now, what would you say? Do you have an answer? And if you do, is your answer broad enough to take into account some of the lessons Super Dad didn't teach, like failure, or sickness, or death? Do you have an answer to life that finds a place for the good and the bad, the fun and the tragedies? If not, your answer won't do. It's not easy being a parent, especially if you want to equip your children for all of life.
Irma Bombeck, who wrote at Wit's End, was talking the other day in her newspaper column about how she and her friend Mava had gone on a diet together. The diet ended, and they found that together they had lost a total of 25 pounds. Now, that sounded good until it was mentioned that Mava had lost 23 of those 25 pounds to Irma's too. Have you ever noticed how people try to appear or even become successful by associating with successful people? At least by identifying with them. A group of boys are outside playing, and each one identifies himself with his favorite athlete. I'm Muhammad Ali. Another, I'm Johnny Bench. And you've noticed that each picked a winner. No one chooses a loser for his hero. In the same way, parents don't name their children Benedict or Judas or Jezebel. They want their child to be a success, not a failure. And it's also true in politics. If you want to be successful politically, you align yourself with a successful politician. Try to get him to support you, rather than someone who's lost his last 3 campaigns. Social climbers do the same thing. They try to be where the really important people are. They drop the names of everyone they can think of. And sometimes they really get to be obnoxious because they try to go as far as they can on someone else's glory or accomplishments and not on what they are themselves. You see, to aspire to greatness is a good thing, but to claim greatness or success by averaging yourself in with someone else, that's a punishable offense. Are you really successful as a person, or are you feeding on the success of someone else? Life is the living you do, and death, well, that's the living you don't do. Listen to your own restless heartbeat. Is it a rhythm of life or a rhythm of death? You know, the human heart is an elegant complex of muscle and tissue, exquisitely engineered to perform a simple but absolutely vital function. The heart's a pump, charged with the burden of circulate the equivalent of over 4,000 gallons of blood through the body, day after day and year after year, in beats that form the tempo of life itself. If the beat stops for 5 to 15 seconds, the body staggers to a fainting halt. A slightly longer pause, and the supply of oxygen is pinched off from the brain, and convulsions result. A longer period of oxygen deprivation, 3 to 5 minutes, for example, and death is almost certain. Without the beating of the heart, life stops. But with all the new advances in medical technology, you know, there are more and more ways to keep the heart beating. And so here again, we know how to keep a man alive longer, but sometimes we still wonder why we should. I mean, what difference will a few extra thousand make? Isn't it true that many people are through with life long before the last heartbeat? Some people respond to life much like the old professor in Bergman's Wild Strawberries. The old professor, Isaac Borg, dreamed one night that he was taking an early morning walk in the empty streets of his town when a funeral procession turned into the churchyard just ahead of him. But just as the wagon bearing the coffin made the sharp turn to enter the churchyard, a wheel wrenched loose and the coffin rolled at the old professor's feet, throwing the body partially out of the coffin. Left alone in the street with the body, the professor reluctantly took hold of it to put it back in its box. But then a strange thing happened. The corpse suddenly seized his arm and struggled with him until they stood face to face. In horror, the professor looks into the face of the dead man. It was his own. When he woke from the dream, the professor realized its meaning at once. He had been living as a dead man. His thinking, appetites, personal attachments, all of these were fixed somewhere in the past. He was a living, walking corpse. It was a terrible dream, but you know, in a way, it saved his life, because he decided to try to be human again, to try to reach out to the people around him. He decided to try to find life again. I think many of us have experienced the same sort of things in times of serious illness. Life is interrupted from its steady onward flow, and the possibility of death suddenly becomes real. We realize what things in life are important in moments like that, and also what things are not. And often the result is a whole new scale of values. Suddenly we're willing to look for more in life. Everything takes on new meaning and significance. Even the leaves on the trees are clearer and more striking. The movement of life around us is more vivid and exciting. Not only do we realize the need for keeping that blood and muscle heartbeat going, but we also realize how much more we need a heartbeat of meaning, purpose, and significance to really be alive. You know, life is seeing. Life is feeling. Life is being aware. Life is being alive. And being alive is being receptive. And by the way, don't wait until all the problems are solved or all the bills are paid. Live today.
And we sincerely hope that today's episode has provided you with some ideas worth considering as you live today. If the answer is yes, then we invite you to subscribe or follow wherever you receive your podcasts. And if you're inclined, leave a comment and a like. This really helps as others are seeking the same kind of material. This podcast is made possible by Friends of Heartbeat, who invite you to visit the website thisisheartbeat.com, where you'll find additional materials available from Heartbeat. Until next time, this is Heartbeat, the podcast.